Breaking news, February 19th, 2026, the United States has pulled together the biggest concentration of aerial and naval firepower in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq War. We're talking 2 carrier strike groups, dozens of F-22 Raptors arriving in Europe, F-35 strike fighters, tankers, AWACS, spy drones, the works basically, all positioning for what could be weeks-long campaign against Iran. So top of the list for the Trump administration is weighing devastating strikes against Iran should the Geneva nuclear talks stall over the enrichment, missiles, and the proxies like Hezbollah and Houthis, because at this point, Iran's rhetoric is up to level 11, saying that they don't want to talk about the proxy armies or the missiles. Oh, those 2,000 ballistic missiles, those, we're not going to use those. Those aren't important. That's the rhetoric coming out of Iran. There's also joint drills being run with Russia. Closing the Straits of Hormuz partially is what Iran did a few days ago. Markets seem a little bit nervous with oil prices jumping a little bit, and sources are saying that strikes could kick off as early as this weekend if no deal lands. Let's talk about some of the latest headlines and the shocking rhetoric coming out of Iran. Iran-Russia drills amid U.S. carrier moves. Russia warns of escalating Iran tensions amid U.S. military buildup. So it's very interesting at this point. Russia is warning Iran. Typically, the rhetoric coming out of Russia is usually anti-West. It's usually anti-US. So very interesting at this point that Russia's like, hey, Iran, hey, calm down, man. Like, we know you're our friend, but at the same time, we really don't want you getting in a fight with Uncle Sam because it's not going to go well for you. And we probably aren't actually going to step in. In my opinion, that's kind of what Russia is saying. If they were to step in, likely what we would see from Russia would be more of just a supportive role, dropping off equipment, kind of like what we've seen China do, where China's like, no, we're supporting you, little buddy. Go ahead. Yeah, good luck with this fight. Here's some surface-to-air missiles, and here's some surface-to-air missile radars. Go ahead. Yeah, just test these out for us, and then just report back before the Ayatollah's palace is turned into a parking lot, okay? Just send us a text. Let us know how these radars did. Don't worry. I'm sure everything will go fine. And then here's a wild card adding even more heat right now. President Trump on Truth Social said he's been telling Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK that leases are no good when it comes to countries, and that he is making a mistake by entering a 100-year lease with whoever it is, claiming the right, title, and interest to Diego Garcia, a strategic location in the Indian Ocean. He's blasting President Keir Starmer of the UK over the Chagos Island deal. The UK government is pushing forward potentially transferring sovereignty of the Chagos archipelago to the Mauritius while securing a 99-year lease on the massive joint US-UK base on Diego Garcia. To me, it's kind of like when the UK negotiates, they're like, oh, we live in a world of rainbows and butterflies. Everybody's just eating candy and not getting fat all day long. They're not really thinking strategically. I don't get a lot of strategic mindedness out of the UK at this point, and the Brits are just cool people. I enjoy the Brits a lot, but at the end of the day, negotiation is huge, and when it comes to securing an island that's one of the greatest force projection islands in the world, you got to take a tough position, and it looks to me that's what the Trump administration is doing. But here's where it gets really wild. President Trump goes on to say, should Iran decide to not make a deal, it may be necessary for the United States to use Diego Garcia and the airfield located in Fairford in order to eradicate a potential attack by a highly unstable and dangerous regime. An attack would potentially be made on the UK as well as other friendly countries. Prime Minister Starmer should not lose control for any reason of Diego Garcia. And that brings up a great point, because Iran is likely going to try to strike the UK. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has deemed that the UK's military is a terrorist organization. And the UK said that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is a terrorist organization as well. And Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is a distinction I want to make in this video. Special thanks to a viewer out there who made that distinction, because the IRGC doesn't represent the people of Iran. Their number one goal is to protect the Ayatollah's fiefdom and keep him in his golden palace and keep him on his golden crapper. That's the number one goal of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They are not the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, because, again, they're not standing up for the free people in Iran who want freedom and who want to be out of the thumb of the religious extremists. So when it comes to these fighter jets actually being used, it's really right now hanging on what happens with the negotiations in Geneva. It looks like a bit of deadlock, with other reports saying that progress has been made, aid, but again, Iran is saying nothing is on the table except for the nuclear program. President Trump has demanded full compliance, no more uranium enrichment wiggle room, no ballistic missile program, cut proxy support or else. Iran says no way. The U.S. response, this massive forced posture to back the diplomacy with steel. The USS Abraham Lincoln is on station in the Arabian Sea with about 80 aircraft. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the newest, most advanced supercarrier, is steaming there, and it should be there any minute if it hasn't arrived already. Expect those two to add up and add a huge force multiplier of strike power and air power with both of those carriers in the region. But Iran's not backing down quietly. Literally at this point, Russia is like, hey, Iran, yeah, you might be getting a little too big for your britches. You might want to tone things down just a little bit because, again, Russia, an ally of Iran, an ally to a point, is basically seeing the writing on the wall. Their intelligence services are seeing this massive buildup of U.S. forces, and Russia's like, hey, Ayatollah, we know you're a religious extremist, and we know no one around you is going to tell you the emperor has no clothes on. Specifically, the president of Iran, puppet of the Iranian regime, is basically going to sit there and tell the Ayatollah that he looks great. Hey, Ayatollah, you should be in the next Top Gun Maverick. You're such a good-looking dude. Basically, the gaslighting that's being done to the Ayatollah and that inner circle itself is just next level. So again, the emperor has no clothes on, and Russia is stepping in and saying, hey, Iran, you might want to think this through before you actually walk off this cliff and you walk right into the biggest swing and you know what on the planet, and that is the massive military buildup that Uncle Sam has brought into the region. But Iran sounds like they're not listening to any of this advice from their friend Russia, because fresh satellite imagery shows fresh concrete shields and soil covering up facilities at the Parchin military complex. This is classic hardening against precision airstrikes. They've run live fire drills closing sections of the Straits of Hormuz, the choke point for 20% of global oil, and that's a flex as well. They're saying, we can do this. We can do whatever we want. They're like that angry kid who's just mad at their dad until they're 40. They're that 40-year-old who's like, Dad, you never paid any attention to me, so we're going to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. But Supreme Leader Khamenei is extremely defiant, saying that no one can strip Iran's enrichment rights, and he's warning that any U.S. move could backfire badly. Proxies are on alert. Hezbollah Houthis are ready to light up multiple fronts if Iran is attacked. So shock value here is off the charts. The most serious U.S. posture since Iraq. 13 warships in the region, more en route, and Europe is helping to enable the surge with bases at places like Lakenheath in the UK, helping to stage advanced fighters like F-35s, F-16s, and F-22s that can be used and get to the region relatively quickly should things go down. F-35Bs from the Royal Air Force look like they have moved to Cyprus, and then RAF Eurofighter Typhoons have deployed directly to Al Udeid in Qatar. Those are highly capable jets, and they're there for coalition support. And then seeing all this movement of metal, Russia keeps chiming in that this is unprecedented escalation, and to me, this is why Russia is telling Iran, hey guys, you're like that little annoying chihuahua and you're going up against the Great Dane that's also mixed with a pit bull, so you might not want to go up against the US. And Iran is like, no, we're going to bite their ankles. We're going to bite their ankles so hard that they're going to back down. But this massive and pure air and naval dominance, to me, it screams sustained campaign operations that could literally remove the entire regime of Iran. Especially the fact now that Diego Garcia is in the headlines, because to me that means a lot more metal could move through there any day now. This is like when the Avengers assemble, except all the Avengers at this point are on steroids. So dozens of fighters, F-22s for stealth air superiority, F-35s for multi-role strikes, F-15s and F-16s for support and follow-on strikes have been repositioning from bases like Lakenheath, plus staging through Germany, Italy, and Spain, KC-135 tankers for long legs, E-3 Sentries for command and control, U-2s that could pull real-time intel every single day, along with advanced drones like the RQ-4 Global Hawk, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers loaded with Tomahawks for standoff strikes, allies like the UK contributing directly with Typhoons to Qatar, F-35Bs to Cyprus. Everything is building to a level that we haven't seen before. President Trump is mulling options, no final call yet, but the pieces are all in place. F-22s have been reported en route. And then just so we're clear, guys, on X and basically multiple websites out there are jet tracking platforms, and that's where I'm seeing a lot of this information. So all all this information, unfortunately, is open source. So you can see all these jets, where they're flowing to, where they're going based on a lot of these X accounts and from places like the Aviationists. These are accounts like OSINT Defender that show where these jets are going. So it's not a secret that this massive amount of military hardware is rolling into the region. F-35s have been sighted in the area. Potentially 12 of those from the Vermont Air National Guard are in the region, and then 18 more could be en route from Lakenheath from the reports I'm seeing. F-15Es are located in Jordan, F-16s as well, and then EA-18Gs, F-18s, and F-35s on the Abraham Lincoln, and the USS Ford is going to be an F-18 only capable carrier, and that is ready to go at a moment's notice. And then don't forget, B-2 bombers can launch and actually fly campaigns from right here in the United States. So let's talk about some of the weapons that could be used should this go down. Tomahawk cruise missiles are going to be one of the biggest things that could be used. 1,000-mile range with a 1,000-pound warhead. Block 5 variants have anti-ship modes, and they also have loiter modes where they can fly around and wait for follow-on tasking. And then all these different fighter jets would be loaded out with JDAMs. Those are Joint Direct Attack Munitions for you acronym junkies. Those have GPS kits that turn dumb bombs into smart bombs for all-weather accuracy. And then SDBs, small diameter bombs, great for picking off high-value targets. Let's say IRGC commanders, those Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps headquarters, where they're basically using operations to take down the protesters in Iran themselves. Those could be struck with very low collateral damage SDBs. And then JASSMs, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles, stealthy design that can evade radars. Those are part of the AGM-158 family, and they can integrate seamlessly with F-35s, F-22s, launching them off, and then those jets become stealthy after they get those off of the rail. But Iran is going to counter this with ballistic missiles, massive amounts of ballistic missiles, so you have to have assets in the area, this different naval buildup that can strike down these highly advanced weapons from Iran. That's one of their biggest things in their playbook. Everyone talks about the nuclear weapons, but the ballistic missiles are essentially more because they're the revolver that's held to the head of the different US bases in the region and to Israel itself. So being able to strike those down is going to be a massive capability that the US is going to need to have should this go down. And even striking them down with missiles that can be carried by F-35s and F-22s, that could be another form of deterrence as well. So strap in for this hypothetical situation. So let's talk about an F-35 pilot blasting off the USS Abraham Lincoln. The catapult launches him off of that, afterburners are lit, and he climbs up to 30,000 feet over the Arabian Sea. First task, vector to intercept an Iranian drone swarm. Locks up 3 of those Shahed drones and splashes them with anti-drone rockets. Those rocket pods are on the wing, along with Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles. 3 drones down, boom, 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 just like that. Then the F-35 pilot pushes inland. He's in stealth mode now, and he's engaged. He drops a pair of Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles on key IRGC command control nodes. Those streak in at low altitude, evading radars, and crater the bunkers. But then Iran's got something else up their sleeve. An Iranian F-14 Tomcat blast off. It gets lucky, it gets airborne, but there's a visual engagement ROE in effect, rule of engagement. So he has to go in and get a visual ID. He sneaks in stealthily from behind, does a high to low intercept, intercepts the F-14, pulls up behind it, and then opens up that 25mm cannon, unfortunately shredding that beautiful F-14, which belongs in a museum. Another option would be get on the radio and tell that F-14 pilot, hey, come land at this base in UAE and you won't be shot down, because we're going to need that F-14 for Top Gun 3 Maverick. So this could be a situation that we see, maybe minus the Hollywood part at the end, getting the F-14 to land at a base in UAE, but a burst from that 25mm cannon would shred that F-14, making it tumble down, and that pilot would eject, and they would likely be scooped up right away by naval assets in the area. So wrapping this all up, massive US buildup with Europe enabled through bases and limited direct contributions from the UK, F-35Bs, and then Diego Garcia. Political drama that is stewing there. This shows me that if diplomacy fails, things could go kinetic fast. This is the most serious air power posture that we've seen in years. What do you think? Do you think we'll see strikes here in the next few weeks? Let me know your take in the comments below. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. And if you want a live from me every week, click the link in the description and join the Max Ready Room. I'll see you guys there on the live, and I'll see you in the next video that pops up right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.